preface this by saying I am not a stalker. Let me say this one more time. I am not a stalker. I'm inventive in the way I want to meet people, but I'm not a stalker. I've had a sweet life. It's not over. I'm not planning on it being over anytime soon. But I've been really lucky in a lot of things in my life. But there was one thing that I couldn't achieve. And it all started with the day that I was vacuuming during, this was summer vacation from college. And I fell in love. Roxanne! No, I didn't fall in love with Roxanne. I fell in love with Sting. How many know Sting? Women, how many of you are in love with Sting? How many of you, well, I won't say anything about his wife. All right, I'm happy they're happy. I'm happy they're happy. I fell in love with Sting. And I won't tell you about all the concerts that I went to, but my goal was to meet Sting. I was going to do this. It doesn't matter that he is a high-profile, world-renowned musician who lives in a castle in England and an expensive apartment in New York City. It doesn't matter. I'm going to meet him. I don't know what I'm going to do when I meet him, but I'm going to meet him. So, the first encounter was years ago when he went on his initial tour. And I found out the hotel he was staying at. And it was a small hotel in Columbia, Maryland, right by the Meriwether Post Pavilion. And it was expensive, and I had a credit card. And I took my best friend, and I took my 13-year-old brother, because he wanted to meet Sting too. Because we knew that the only way we could get into this hotel is if we had a hotel key. So we got in. Well, it was wonderful, because he was there. Well, we didn't see him, initially. We met Branford Marsalis, and we met all the other members of the band, and they were really nice. And Branford, actually, I said, would you get me Sting's autograph? He said, sure. So, he never did. Anyway, the hotel was a rotunda. I have to hurry this up because there's a lot. The hotel was a rotunda, and you could look down, and I'm on the balcony, I'm looking, and I see all this commotion, and I'm thinking, this is it. He's coming out to go to the show that night. So we tear down the steps, and we go out, and there he is. And there he is with his bodyguards, and he's walking, and I was not the only person there, apparently, who had the idea that if you stay at this hotel, you could meet Sting. So there's about 7 of us, females, all behind him as he's walking ahead, and I was in back of him, and I go, please, can I just shake your hand? And he stuck his hand back. And the bee next to me grabbed it. So, that was it. He was gone. I wouldn't give up. A number of years later, I'm working at a record store. You can get passes backstage from record store people. Okay. There I was, in line. But I figured he owed me a handshake, right? He owed me a handshake. So we go, they line us up, literally line us up, and he came by. Hello, nice to meet you. 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 That was it. Okay, I'm sorry, that's not enough. That's not enough. Fast forward, this past summer, actually before the summer, Sting went through a dry spell. I don't know if any of you know that, if you're fans, but for about 10 years he didn't produce anything that was worthwhile. I hope he's not watching this. But he knows it. We talked about it. Not to me though. Anyway, he wrote a play, and apparently none of you went to see it because it closed in 4 months on Broadway, called The Last Ship. Well, I heard it was previewing in Chicago. Now, I always wanted to go to Chicago, and I figured, well, let me go to Chicago, because if this show is in previews, he's going to be there. All right, so I spent money I didn't have, and Mom, get in here. I went to Chicago, and I pretty much camped out, not camped out, but I got there real early for the first show. Because I was, oh wait, so I got there I was there for 4 nights, and 3 nights I went to the play. First night, I don't know how I'm doing on time. First night, we're standing outside, and a friend of mine who happened to be in Chicago at the same time was standing there. Of course, I'm not looking in at the lobby. He is, and he goes, "There's Sting." And I go, "What?" And he goes, "Yeah." I said, "Oh." I said, "Don't play with me, because this isn't funny. This is serious business. I'm spending a lot of money on this." He goes, "No, he just walked by." Well, now I'm like this. Okay. So I did see him go by, the back of his head. But you know now this is not enough. Night 2, pouring rain. I'm standing inside the lobby now, okay? And I'm standing by the door to go into the theater. And what happens? But he goes in the door next to me in his brown leather jacket and his coat, because it's all raining, going through the crowd. And I'm like, I'm getting closer. I'm getting closer. Third night, I'm sitting, I got a $35 rush ticket. You don't even know what I want to know what I paid for those other tickets. I sat down, I looked in the sound booth, and my God, there he was. Well, there is an usher that is very lucky she did not get knocked over by me when the play was over. Because as everybody was clapping and he left, I jumped up and ran out, and I saw him going down the steps, and I ran down to the steps, and I looked down, and I said, "Excuse me!" And he looked up, and I said, "It was wonderful." And he went, "Oh, I'm not done. I'm not done." Because that wasn't enough. So, fast forward to December, that play's not doing well, so now he's in it. He's in the play. So, I buy myself a ticket and I go to New York City. And I wait in the freezing cold. And I wait in the freezing cold. And I'm telling you, it was cold that day. And he came down the street, and there's 5 of us, idiots, but we're there. And he comes down and he goes, "I can't stay because I'd have to sing in 45 minutes. And he went in the door. And I'm like, "Oh, no, no, no." So, the play was over. I got out. You know, they have the barricades. Those of you who've been in New York, got in the barricades. I had a couple that were from his hometown helping me. They said, "We will do whatever it takes for you to accomplish your bucket list." Because this was my bucket list. She had the CD to get signed for me. He had the camera ready. Sting came down the line. He came to me. He shook my hand. He looked at me. I said, "I saw the play 4 times and it was wonderful." He looked at me. He smiled. And he squeezed my arm. Thank you. And that night I met Hugh Jackman. Thank you.